Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor, your host. Also from Stress to Logic, your host. And we just finished a session regarding a local charity. And I'm going to kind of switch the narrative a little bit to talk about some things that are going on in the world. If you've been following the war in Israel, 4 hostages were released, and they were supposed to be the Bibas family. Unfortunately, the mother was not returned. There was a body that was returned, but it was not the mother. And the babies were verified that they were actually murdered by hand. This is a horrible thing, and I hope that, my heart goes out to everybody who's affected, either directly or indirectly. And I know the entire Jewish community is affected, and there's nothing I can actually do except use my own techniques to calm myself down with stress to logic, and I have used these techniques. So I really hope that if you are hurting, you can find healing, you can find peace, because this war really needs to end. And I know some people love President Trump, some people hate President Trump, but he's pretty pissed as well. Unfortunately, it's another country, but he wants to see Gaza leveled. I don't necessarily want to see innocent people killed, but at the same time, it would be a good idea to restart, rebuild, and build on a platform of peace and not a platform of hatred. And quite frankly, there's a ton of hatred in our country today. People are going to blame President Trump. People are going to blame this, blame that, blame. Who cares what the blame is? We need to really look at our neighbors and accept them as they are. One of the things that I found out actually Thursday night, I was at a networking group with a local chamber of commerce, and there is a anti-Semitism activist who really puts himself out there. His name is David Tellisman, and he actually does sales marketing. If you have a business and you'd like to be connected with him, I would absolutely love to make that introduction. You can reach out to me at marcusmelnick.com, which is my electronic business card. That is marcusmelnick.com. He is Tellisman Communications, and he writes all sorts of sales materials for local companies such as mine. So that's who I learned that from. And in networking with various people, I found out that Washington University in St. Louis, or it's commonly known as WashU, now has a mid-year transfer program that admits Jewish students who've experienced anti-Semitism at other schools. And I didn't know this, but the program has been available for the past 2 years, and some say it kind of flies under the radar. Hopefully it doesn't. This is how the program works. It allows students to transfer from other schools for the spring semester instead of waiting for the fall semester or new school year. It's not explicitly for Jewish students, but some have taken advantage of it. And in January 24, several Jewish students enrolled at WashU via the mid-year transfer program after reporting feeling unsafe at their previous schools. WashU has condemned anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and has stated that it will address incidents that go against its core values. WashU has also visited Chabad events. Now, a Chabad is a very ultra-religious group or program. They're all over the country, and kind of like, I don't want to say this, but kind of like missionaries, but they welcome everyone. You don't have to be ultra-Orthodox or ultra-religious or even Jewish to attend their programs. There are non-Jewish people that go to their preschools, and early on in my first marriage, I lived in Gurnee, and Chabad of Gurnee was brand spanking new. I was involved in them, pretty heavily involved in them. That rabbi is fantastic. If you're up in the Gurnee area, again, I can make an introduction between you and Rabbi Tenenbaum. They've got a ton of events. They're very educational, and they're fun, quite honestly. So that's what a Chabad is. WashU has visited Chabad events for parents and families and assures them that the university is taking steps to make Jewish students feel welcome. The Anti-Defamation League, or the ADL, gave WashU a B, as in the grade B, in its campus anti-Semitism report card database. WashU admitted 6 transfer students this semester in the second year of the mid-year transfer program, and it's really a phenomenal program. The interesting thing is here, if you haven't watched my show or listened to my show before, you might not know that I'm Jewish. I grew up in Skokie, so here's a Jewish kid from Skokie who decided to go to a Jesuit university, Loyola University Chicago, and I loved it. It was a great experience. So I'm there, and at a Jesuit college, you have to take classes in religion, and I'm thinking, oh, great, I have no experience in Catholicism, Christianity. I mean, not that I have no experience. I had friends and all that, but I wasn't raised in that religion. So I found a class called the Old Testament. Oh, that's perfect. And the class was filled with Jewish students. And then it was taught by a Jesuit. So you want to talk about confusing? It was fantastic. He was the only instructor who ever smacked me. And then we became very good friends. I don't think this Jesuit is still alive, but just to give you an idea of how tough this guy was, he enlisted, not was drafted, but enlisted for 2 tours in Vietnam to be a chaplain. What a great guy. We called him our homeboy. The Jewish students called him our homeboy. He was absolutely fantastic. So at Loyola, and this is also an extension of the conversation I had. Another gentleman there, he got his master's and his doctorate at Loyola, and he was saying to his professor, who was a priest, hey, look, I can't go to class this evening. I know we have to present, but I have Passover, which is a pretty significant holiday. It celebrates the freeing of the Jews from Egyptian bondage and slavery, and is usually around the same time as Easter. So it's springtime. It's really a great holiday where we recount what happened. And in any event, the crux of the argument was he came to his professor and he said, Father, I have this holiday and I'm sorry I have to skip school. But if you really need me to after our Passover Seder, I'll come back and present the paper. And this Jesuit priest said to him, if you come to my class on your holiday, I will fail you. And that was the experience that I had at Loyola. I had to take time off for certain Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, which are the holiest days of the year, and nobody batted an eye. Okay, cool, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. That was it. Later on in life, I had some Jewish bosses, and I said, hey, look, I need to take off the Jewish holidays. And you know what some of them said to me? No, you got to work. You can't take that day off. I'm like, are you kidding me? So the crux of the conversation was that people who are spiritual or religious, and it doesn't matter what religion it is, are so much more understanding of other people's holy days. And I found that so interesting. I wanted to share it because it does go along the crux of anti-Semitism. There are people within religions that hate their own religion. We call them self-hating Jews. I can't stand it. It's when Jewish people stand up for other countries that have anti-Semitism or other organizations that have anti-Semitism. It absolutely makes no sense to me. I do have a speaking program on how to deal with racism and anti-Semitism, and I've delivered it a number of times. And if you have your religious institution, or even if you just have a club that is a minority club, whether it's an African-American club, a Hispanic club, Asian club, and I know these exist, and you're facing some discrimination, racism, hatred, please reach out to me. I would love to present at your organization. It's how to deal with racism, anti-Semitism, and other forms of adversity so that as an individual, you can remain calm. It's also clarified in my book called Overcoming the Hot Stress Mess, where I talk about the techniques I developed. It's called the LEARN system, and that is an acronym. You got to get the book, which you can get at firearmmentor.com. That is FIREARMMENTOR.com. And I do have a quote for the day. Today, focus on what you can control, embrace the present moment, and trust that things will work out as they should. Instead of stressing over the unknown, channel your energy into gratitude, positivity, and actions that bring you peace. This is another phenomenal quote. I'm lucky to get these. It's kind of funny. The person who sent it said, I hope you have a stress-free weekend. Hey, man, life is stressful. We all have stress. We all have stuff going on. And what I really can't stand is when someone else doesn't take that into account when they talk to you. Let me give you an example. This has nothing to do with hatred or anti-Semitism, but it does have to do with adversity. So as many of you know, I had my rotator cuff reattached as well as bicep tear repaired and some other things in the same location in the fall. And several weeks ago, I had a follow-up appointment at my doctor, and I'm not going to mention the doctor's name or the practice name, but after sitting in the lobby for an hour and seeing the entire waiting room turn over and not being called, I went up to the desk and I said, look, I did this nicely, correct tone of voice. I wasn't pissy. I was in my head, but I didn't express that. I said, look, I've been here for an hour. I have a meeting at a Fortune 500 company. I can't stick around for a doctor to move my arm around for 2 minutes and say, yep, you're on track. No problem. See you later. See you in 4 weeks. And so I said, can you please refund my copay and I will have to reschedule. So, they clicked on the computer, tap, 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 and sent me on my way. And usually when I am at this doctor's office, I have a credit card on file. As I'm walking out, I get the email receipt. Well, I didn't get an email receipt. I'm like, okay, whatever. I kept checking my credit card statement. They never issued the refund. Then I found out later that they entered into the system patient canceled appointment. Not exactly. So I waited 9 days. And then what I did was I wrote a letter to the CEO of the company saying part and parcel of patient care is to actually, the business part of it, and have good customer service. And when I did that, no one said, I'm sorry, we're running late. No one announced it. I've been to doctor's offices before, like when I had kids and they're like, oh, we have an emergency, let's reschedule. They call you ahead of time, like they're organized. And so I wrote this letter to the CEO and he did not respond. So a couple days ago, I called him and turns out he was out of the office. He was on vacation. Okay, that's completely understandable. He needs time to get caught up on his correspondence. And I talked to the person on the phone and I was like, I have a customer service issue that I'd like to discuss with him. And she's, well, he's been out of the office. Okay, cool. I get that. No worries. No problem. So I go home and by the way, I waited for someone from the practice to call me. Nobody called me to reschedule my appointment. So I called them. Actually, I take that back. I emailed in and I got a relatively immediate response and a phone call. I was on another call. I couldn't jump over, but the person said, I get it. I'm so sorry. I'll call you back or call me back. And so I did. I called the office, got the same group of receptionists that really messed up with my copay and didn't apologize. And they said that the person who was the medical assistant was busy. Hang on, we'll get her for you. 30 minutes later, the system timed out and I was hung up on. Wow. On the outside, again, I was calm, but I experienced all of those things that people experience when they're stressed. I experienced tunnel vision, aggravation. I was really upset, but I didn't express that. That was on the inside. I used some of these techniques that I just mentioned in the LEARN process, And I called back and I got the exact same receptionist. And I said, look, I have been on hold for 30 minutes. The system timed out. And I actually took a screenshot that said I was on hold for 30 minutes right before I was disconnected, which was beautiful. I want to talk to this person, and you putting me on hold for half an hour is absolutely unacceptable. Please get her on the phone. And yes, I was a little forceful, and I'm kind of wound up now as I'm recording this, but the person came on within a reasonable amount of time. It was 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever it was. And she said, they never told me you were on hold. Wow. Holy Moses. So I explained everything. I was like, look, every appointment I've had has been at least a 45-minute wait. This time, I'm not some retired guy. I work for a Fortune 500. I also am the CEO of 2 small businesses. I don't have time to wait around. You guys have to get this office in order. So she made an appointment with me. I said, I'll never go back to that office. Give me the other office. And so now I have an appointment in another 2 weeks. So it's probably about a month behind schedule, my care, because this one office is not organized. Adversity, yes. Being upset, yes. But your tone of voice and how you talk is really important when you're dealing with people, especially when they're dealing with you. And if they're insulting to you, one of the first things you can say is, I need you to repeat that. And then they repeat it. And what it does is it takes the wind out of their sails. And it makes them repeat it, especially if there's other people around and they start looking like an ASS. And then what you do is you say, did you intend on insulting me? Or did you intend on trying to belittle me? Something like that. And whatever they say, now they're backtracking. You don't say anything. Silence is a tool, but not on the radio. You don't want to tune into the radio and hear silence. So that's why I keep talking. Silence is a certain great tool for you to use. And then what it does is, particularly for a narcissistic person, it kind of puts them on defense without putting you on offense. Now, I've done this in personal relationships. I have yet to do this with someone higher up in an organization, just because I don't want to lose business, but there is going to be a time where I may have to say that. So these are some tips for you on how to deal with stress. I know the program, a lot of it's firearms, some of it's stress management, and that's what we are doing. I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS 2LOGIC.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show. People, it amazes me when someone tries to scam a gun owner. Now, as an instructor, yes, I get phone calls. Usually it's a text, not a phone call. And it's usually not a person behind it. Hey, I'd like to schedule a lesson for my relative. Usually it's a child, an adult child. And they're near you on holiday. Well, that's the first red flag, on holiday. Who the hell talks like that? Someone from another country, like the continent of Africa or wherever else scams are coming from. And they say, I want to arrange firearms training for them for 2 times a week for 6 weeks. And it ends up being, you need to send us money for transportation so they can get to your range. And you send them a couple $100. I don't really do this, but that's what they're asking you to do. And it's a scam. And there's also a phishing scam going on, as in PH phishing. Some people will get a confused call from, I don't know, Adventure Life or some other fictitious company about an email from DocuSign, which is an online service used to e-sign documents, about a PayPal payment in your wallet in the amount of whatever, $449 for the purchase of a Springfield Armory gun. And this is an invoice for your recent purchase through PayPal. The charge will appear on your statement as a payment to Springfield Armory gun within 24 hours. So it's kind of confusing. It's a confusing series of statements, and it's immediately suspicious. Usually there's misspelled things. And please just be careful. I get these emails all the time. It's usually trying to imitate Norton. Oh, your Norton has expired. We've charged you. Go to this website. Verify. Okay, hold on a second. Verify what? Also, my wife recently attempted to make a purchase online, and it was goofy. So she's like, I'm not going to go through with this. She had already put her credit card in. Within an hour, 10 charges came up on her Capital One card. Now, she knew somewhere in it that it wasn't kosher, and Capital One caught it. They did not approve the charges. One was for a Walmart somewhere, and it was just charge after charge after charge. So she's like, what do I do? And I said, well, call them and cancel the credit card, get a new one. Oh, but that's a pain in the rear. Yeah, it's a pain in the rear end, but that's what you have to do to protect yourself. Guess what? Firearms training is fun, but sometimes it could be a pain in the rear end. You got to practice and practice and practice to keep yourself physically safe. You also have to practice and practice and practice to keep yourself electronically safe. So luckily she realized it and was able to take action immediately. But there's all sorts of scumbags out there. I call them dirtbags out there who, actually a dirtbag is someone who attacks you. A scumbag is someone who tries to scam you. That's just my own little vocabulary, a little bit of humor there. But the reality is there's people out there that want to take advantage of you, which is why I deliver street smart seminars to various organizations. I have one for real estate agents because, let's face it, if you're a real estate agent, you're facing people, you're meeting people at night, in the dark, at a house. Nobody knows you're there. Real estate agents have been assaulted. I have another Street Smart seminar for older Americans. Now, as we all age, technology becomes less and less our forte, myself included, although I am a Gen Xer, so I do know how to use email and text and all that. But some of the newer stuff, it's a learning curve. So I have a seminar for aging adults, Street Smarts for aging adults, as well as I recently delivered one for adults with special needs. Now, adults with special needs often get taken advantage of, sometimes in a criminal, sexual manner, and I didn't go into that, but I went into all the scams that are online to protect them. And some of them, they're high functioning, they have jobs, they drive. I don't want anyone to get taken advantage of. So I try to educate as many people as I can about all of the dangers that are out there. And danger doesn't necessarily translate to physical danger. It could be financial danger, could be health danger. And I just went over the story about health danger. Now, I wasn't really in danger by an office that was disorganized, but it did affect my health. And had I had a life-threatening issue, wow, I would not have received the services I needed. Luckily, it was just a checkup. It was not life-threatening. But again, my care is delayed. So please be advocates for yourself. You don't have to be a jerk, but you also don't have to be over-accommodating and nice. I'll give you another example. I work from home. Sometimes I'm on a call, and I have a huge no soliciting sign. Ding dong. Jeez, I'm not getting the door if I'm not expecting it. So I had one guy, he kept ringing the bell, and I'm like, crap. So I put the meeting on pause. I go to the door, And it's a dude saying, your tree out front looks like it's dying. I'm a tree removal service. And I pointed to the enormous no soliciting sign and I said, dude, take a look. There's a reason why this is up there. And I was not nice about it. But the whole idea is sometimes you might get a knock at the door. It's summertime. Your back door is open. They keep you talking. It's called a roost burglary. And then another nefarious character goes in the back, comes in the house. Now, my dog would eat them. So I actually have a dog. That would be stupid for them to do. And my door is locked for their protection, not mine. But in any event, please be aware of your surroundings, whether your surroundings are physical, electronic, online. I keep telling people, do not post your vacation photos online while you are on vacation. You want to do it, hey, we had a great time on a cruise last week. Here are some wonderful pictures and you want to share them. Great. Don't do it from the cruise ship because guess what? Everyone's going to know you're not home and then someone may burglarize your home. That is a feeling of violation. Not only is it a feeling of violation, it is an enormous inconvenience where you now have to file things on your insurance, and maybe the stuff that they took is sentimental, was passed down from generation to generation. That's not recoverable. As a matter of fact, when I worked for the Glencoe Police and Fire Department, there was a roost burglary, and the detective who talked to the suspected burglars and said, look, here's the deal. If you return all of this jewelry, that'll be the end of it. We will not prosecute you. And that was the deal to get the jewelry back. And the nefarious characters anonymously dropped off everything that they stole. And the person was made whole again. That was some great detective work. It was amazing. But if you have stuff that was handed down, a Yadro, I've got stuff that was handed down that really isn't valuable. But to me, it's valuable because it was my great-grandfather's or my father's or something like that. Please just keep yourselves safe. Tune in next week for another awesome episode. And of course, stay safe this week and all the time. This is Marcus Belnick signing off. We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.